What's up everyone, welcome to today's video, welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today we're going to take a trip down memory lane. A lot of the different concerns surrounding Gotham Knights, and sometimes when I give my responses, don't have the bird's eye view of all of the contingencies surrounding this game. I guess I can say I take responsibility for not probably preparing and giving maybe a 20-minute synopsis on some of the different things. But again, these are videos that are designed to be short. So if today's video is a little longer, I encourage you to maybe stay through and gather the tidbits of information so that you can maybe for yourself perceive the game in whatever light you choose. Be it positive or negative, it is not my business. Also, whenever I make these cases, beware, you're going to have the individual that says that Warner Brothers is probably paying me or I'm simping for the developers. Like one of my audience members said yesterday when I was making a case against the Dead Space remake being $70 in the face of a brand new horror shooting experience called Callisto Protocol. Forgive me for trying to use logic. It's okay. Spend your money as you please. That is y'all's business. At the end of the day, there is something I want you guys to learn from an interview that was actually done at the Comic-Con in San Diego, whatever it was, where Patrick Redden was asked a question, or at least some of the team members in terms of cinematics, narrative, and Patrick Redden himself, about why they decided to make a game that actually was set in the Batman universe, but having Batman being dead in it. So here is his answer. I think it's very telling as to why I believe there's a huge corporate aspect to this gaming thing that everyone is leaving out. And instead of actually looking at the leadership structure, they're taking it out on the developers, which I don't see as a viable strategy overall. So here's the answer he gave.
Batman. Whoever is brave enough to take this first question, I'd love to hear just about the discussion to do a Gotham game and have Batman have perished in the start.
I was waiting for them to go slowly turn and then slow turn.
I was going slow. I was just like,
No pressure. No pressure.
Well, I mean, there's the serious answer to that question, in fact, is that, when we got our mandate to start a new franchise built around Gotham City, built around the Batman universe, right away we knew one of the things we wanted to be different was for players to have an extended period of growth and evolution for their character, for their hero. Because they'd be going out night after night and fighting crime. It wasn't going to be sort of a one and done scenario. It was going to be something that would unfold in a lot of different ways as they take on crime in the streets of Gotham City, on the rooftops, etc., but also uncovering these major mysteries and dealing with the major villains.
Now, I'm sure you heard that. When we got our mandate to make a game in the Gotham universe and all of the above, and then he gives an answer, he talks about some of the systems and some of the things that they wanted to achieve. But to me, it sounded like our bosses said, hey, we need y'all to make this game. So we took our pens and papers and we created a game that was representative of what it was that they wanted. Now, the thing about life is every single one of us has at one point or the other had somebody that dictated what it is that we did in terms of a job or work. Maybe some of you are not old enough yet, but at this stage, you're no longer 8 years old. So maybe there's a decade on top of that 8 years old in terms of your age, or 2 decades, 3, maybe 4. But I'm certain that when you start to get out there in life, you're going to see the way these things actually move. And I strongly believe that the leadership at Warner Media, in the past anyways, was very wasteful of resources and could not in any sense look to the fans to understand what they wanted. Instead, they thought they had these ideas, drank their own Kool-Aid long enough, and eventually were able to destroy a whole lot, put Warner Media in a position where even this year, there are reports going out that the company doesn't have enough cash to release a bunch of their movies or market anyways, or release whatever it is. I think it's the same thing. You market your movie and then you do everything that's necessary. It's very interesting to see how these folk are at the helm of a lot of entertainment in our world today, when there used to be very competent people, but it seems like a lot of them are taking their retirement and sitting pretty somewhere. Not their fault. They've done their jobs and they've done a very good job at that in the past for most of them. Now, one thing about this leadership aspect that I mentioned briefly in my video yesterday is I didn't necessarily give you guys the full picture. So I went ahead and took a little clip. I cut out the name of the leader person that was at Warner Media at the time. And they had this tweet that they actually put out in January, which was kind of our biggest hint as to Gotham Knights still maintaining a release date in 2022. So they went ahead and posted this and said, this strategy continues in 2022 with a sense of urgency, launching HBO Max in many more countries this quarter and a balance of the year, launching CNN Plus, delivering of a full slate of highly anticipated games. So this was a strategy. We're going to deliver CNN Plus. We're going to get HBO Max in more countries, and we're going to get you guys video games. This is how we all knew we were going to be getting these 2 video games, Hogwarts Legacy and Gotham Knights, in this year. But apparently, Hogwarts Legacy eventually got its delay, possibly because of optimization issues for maybe even the Switch and the PlayStation 4. Keep telling y'all the PlayStation 4 is a mounting of a console to try to get a game, packed into. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys got to hear the news, because if you didn't, CNN Plus cost about $350 million to set up, and it died. It didn't get any subscribers in that was actually valuable for them to even make their money back. It's a loss. In the tax statement somewhere, they're probably going to say, CNN Plus, we lost all this money. And if you were paying even closer attention, HBO Max, apparently, it is reported that allegedly the numbers of subscribers were fudged in the tens of millions. So what they were making to seem like, yeah, man, people are jumping into HBO Max, most of it was just a fugazi. So this is the leadership that we've had for I don't know how many years. Not saying that they were the ones that gave the mandate to Patrick Wren. No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it was likely a leadership structure like this that canceled the Damian Wayne game. A lot of people are crying. They should have made the Damian Wayne game. Like, the developers didn't want to make it. In fact, they have concept art, and I'm certain that they have prototypes and stuff that we're probably not going to be seeing, except maybe somebody decides that one day they can show that has the Damian Wayne game. Because a lot of people continue to say things like Gotham Knights just looks inferior in every aspect. I've seen this. It doesn't look like a game that is this and that is that, blah, 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 blah. But then a lot of these same people were praising all of the artwork and the concept art of the Damian Wayne games, like the artwork and the concept art didn't look kind of similar. I mean, are you not seeing the artistic style? Is there not necessarily some sort of a theme going on here, even if they were not necessarily put together by the same artist? I mean, things are so similar. A mode of traversal that was probably going to be in this Damian Wayne game is using a bat cycle. And yet all our knights can use a bat cycle. Now, if we dig even further and pay a lot more attention, you'll notice that the character art director has been at Warner Brothers Games Montreal for about 10 years. He was right here in front of all of us. His name is Jay Evans, and he even worked on Batman Arkham Origins DLC, A Cold, Cold Heart. So if you think that the art direction for Gotham Knights would have been very different from the Damian Wayne game, I don't think you really understand exactly these nuances. And I'm not saying it in a bad way. This is someone who has worked extensively in the art direction of the studio, from coming up the ranks as a lead character artist, even working on Batman Arkham Knight DLC, and then moving all the way up to an unannounced project as a senior character artist, which I think was eventually called maybe Gotham Knights at that point, or maybe it was a Superman game they were working on, or even the Damian Wayne game, and then an advanced character artist, and then now being the character art director. Ladies and gentlemen, I think understanding these different layers are quite critical, because it will help you look and say, wow, if we had gotten a Damian Wayne game, it would have more than likely looked very similar to what we have in Gotham Knights. So I think the vision was probably deconstructed and reconstructed in this form to get a game that fit the mandate or the vision of their bosses. This is the way the real world works. And for those who are saying the game seems to have some Avengers type element to it, they can't seem to shake it off, I think I understand you. Those trends were actually a big deal back then. FIFA was raking in $1 billion a year. Fortnite could not stop earning money. So I'm sure everybody looked around the gaming scene, especially those who are suits that don't know anything about gaming. And they said to themselves, we have got to farm this madness called gamers that are whales, spending money, hundreds of thousands of dollars on FIFA cards and all of this stuff. Nah, man, we need to get ours. And they put it in that mandate. Look at Suicide Squad again. I keep telling y'all that this thing to me seems a little bit weird overall, that we have this trend not only in one video game, we have it in 2 video games that are coming out. Where did these studios all of a sudden decide that after making a lot of success on single player games, we're going to jump into this co-op multiplayer thing? Sure, I get it. Warner Brothers and their studios Rocksteady are very good at what they do. In fact, Rocksteady put on their website, this Q&A thing saying, people think that this is going to be, Suicide Squad is going to be our first online multiplayer game. But we made a multiplayer game in Riot Response. I get it. But you made a multiplayer game at one time and ended up making 3 very successful single player games that brought in the paychecks for years. And somehow you decided we're going to just put that whole, format aside and we're going to go with this format. I think Rocksteady probably lost a lot of their leverage when a new leadership came in. There have been rumors that they actually canceled a Superman game in that studio. The rumors were going around. I remember they came out before one of the video game awards in, I think, 2018 or 2019. I think it's 2018. And they said, fans, we're working on a project, but we're not showing it at a video game awards. When we're ready, we're going to show it. It seemed a little cranky from Stephen Hill at that time. But I remember fans were so disappointed because at that point, it was already 3 years into a project, at least, or 3 years after Arkham Knight was released. And the team had, basically said, after Arkham Knight, we're going to be going a whole different direction. I strongly believe it was a Superman direction because their Arkham game had been teasing it. And somewhere, somehow, that also got canceled. I don't know what the terms or even if this is true, but these are just hypotheticals that I'm making. So when you look at Gotham Knights, you can, criticize it all you want, but I hope that the criticisms will take into account all of these different factors before you start going to yell at developers and start saying some really interesting things that are void of context or are at the best ignorant, if we wanted to be nice to you. And that you actually start taking the time to look into all of these different contingencies. We gamers are supposed to be very well versed and knowledgeable in this industry where we spend hours in terms of getting our entertainment. If we don't know these things, we look like plebs. Sure, gaming is a childlike, activity, but we're no longer children for the most part. Most gamers of today, the youngest gamers you would see in many, contexts, are in their 20s. In fact, my other YouTube channel, the reason I didn't cover Gotham Knights on my other YouTube channel, for those who may be wondering, even though it's a bigger YouTube channel than this, is because that channel and the video game I covered there appeals to a demographics that is 35 years all the way through 65 years. Whereas Gotham Knights appeals to an audience that is from around 24 all the way through 35. It's a whole different set of gamers. But it was shocking to me to find out that the most amount of people that were watching my videos on that channel were people that were literally in a position to have my, children my age. That was shocking to me. So the gamer is no longer a little child. The gamer is the person that played the Atari as a little child and is now an adult who's buying their grandkids PS5s for Christmas. So I see no reason why we cannot necessarily be knowledgeable about all of these different factors. And so that whenever we look at a video game, we can understand where things are coming from. And like I said, I think it's probably also my responsibility as somebody who's a video game commentator and a critic to be able to pull these things into perspective and try to digest it in maybe a small number of videos. Or if I can do one video for maybe an hour, maybe that might help serve a lot of folk. So if you're excited about Gotham Knights, wonderful. If you're not excited about Gotham Knights, you know at least some of the reasons why, so that you can understand that this entire thing is quite weird, in my opinion. Somewhere, somehow, I think other studios like Avalanche and maybe even Monolith were able to kind of just get away with single player games. Maybe that was their expertise and they were able to sell, or pitch the idea. But to me, I just think Rocksteady and Warner Brothers Games Montreal are making a game that I'm not certain how the audience overall is going to be seeing it. For the most part, I know for Gotham Knights, a lot of us already know a lot about the game itself. So we're going in not blind. We're going in actually well informed. So those of us that have already pre-purchased this game or, pre-ordered the game, we already know exactly what it is we're going to be getting, unless they're hiding something that we don't know about. But for the most part, this studio does not seem like they're interested in hiding anything because they already know that they're the underdog. So all they can do is put everything out there and everybody makes their own decisions. And I respect them for that. I actually commend that because think again, it's the card that they were dealt. And they've, in my opinion, done the best that they can with it. You as the gamer, you get to decide if the best is enough for you or not. And this is my video down memory lane. I really appreciate you guys for watching the video. I thank you for your time and audience. And hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Maybe a more happy video on that note. Peace out.